One of the biggest shifts that we have seen in the last few years is definitely decentralization. And no doubt we have entered the world of 3.0, and there's no way that we are going backwards anymore. I'm sure it's only the beginning. Nowadays, it's not only up to a few to share and with that also control and to censor content and also thought and impact behavior, but Web 3.0 is all about interaction. And whether you are fully immersed already into this next world of commerce and communication, or you're still confused what it actually is and what it's all about, then you have definitely come to the right place, because we are joined by somebody who I would consider a true trusted authority in that space. Jenks Guo is connecting the world of software engineering, but also the world of business development. And we will talk about all things Web 3.0, crypto, blockchains, digital currencies, and everything in between. Now, Jenks, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Petra.
I'm honestly so excited because this is a topic that is obviously up and coming, it's trending, but at the same time, it's still so confusing because there's no official education, there's no course that you can take as such, and it constantly changes. I'm curious, how did you get into that space and what exactly are you doing in this current day and age?
Confusing is the right word to describe Web 3.0. I had to go through the process of learning it just not long ago. So I started at my current job, which is developer advocacy for Filecoin Foundation in March this year. So the accurate description of what I've been doing knowledge-wise is I've been drinking from a fire hose for a few months now. There is a lot to learn, and it is a huge topic. So Web 3.0, as I'm still developing my understanding of it, the topic is just too big. But in essence, is a revolution of the internet. So the current internet that we use hasn't changed for maybe 60 or 70 years, maybe even longer. There is urgent need to actually innovate it because we rely so much on the internet these days. We get everything done. We go to work, we're on internet. When we wake up, if we check our social, then we're on internet. And then I have kids now. A lot of things have to be done on the internet, like childcare registration, enrollment. All these things are very, very ingrained into our life these days. But it hasn't been invented for many times. So therefore, people are trying to reinvent it. That's the concept of Web 3.0. That is the next version of the internet. So it is. Internet has evolved over time. So how we use the internet has evolved. When internet was first invented, it was just made to connect a few computers together, so a few in the world, and transfer files point to point. So this university server to another university to another university, it was simple just to share files. And then the era of Web 1.0 came. A lot of people start to realize, wow, you can have content on the internet and people can browse it. And they might dial up through a real dodgy little phone line, but people can read content very easily. You know the word hyperlink, right? Link.
Yeah.
When you're reading something, there's a link, and you can click on it to find another place. To do that without the internet, it was incredibly hard. What would you do if you find a reference in a book? You actually have to find the book and find where it's located, the next library, and go to the library and find that book and find that. And then there are more references there. Internet has given us a really easy way to read references, and that was Web 1.0. Typically, an organization, a company, or individual set up a server. It could be their computer or some server sitting in a centralized place, and then they serve content. But it was read-only for most of the people. You can't change it very easily. To be able to change the content, you will have to contact the owner and then go through a certain process, and they have to do some coding to be able to change it. So that was a Web 1.0. People were happy about it. I remember when I was little, I was keeping a lot of URLs in a notebook so that I can go and find these references very easily, and I use bookmark intensively. And then came the Web 2.0 era, which is considered to be the current internet. The current internet allows read and write for normal users, so more interactive. The typical examples are the platforms that we use these days. Facebook, Twitter, all these platforms allow not only reading of content, other people's content, but they really allow you to create the content very easily. So you don't have to maintain an expensive server and know how to code and learn about all the technical stuff about internet infrastructure. But with the popularity of platform, it came a popularity of centralization. These services typically are hosted in a few locations in the world, or maybe just one location in the world, and all around the world, people are using the same service, sitting on the same server. So all of the activity is centralized. It leads to a very fragile setup. A lot of us don't really think about that until Amazon start to break down or Facebook stop working, because it seems like half of the internet doesn't work all of a sudden. Why is it so fragile? We don't think about this. We just take it as is because there's no other better way, right? Well, a few smart people got together and thought that this is not cool. We need as a human race, we need a more resilient version of the internet. And we need to sort of decentralize it for a few benefits that I'll introduce very soon. So the Web3 movement was created. The intention is to return data and control of the next version of the internet back to the hands of the user. So normal users like you and me. And this is very new, very new. It hasn't been developed for a long time. The concept, in fact, has only been around for a few years, but there's a lot of investment, a lot of resources being poured into it, and it's really happening right now. Would you like me to expand on a few attributes of Web3? I don't know if you're
that's
interested in
fascinating
that.
because you have made such a good explanation from the journey from I just get information from a one side angle, and now all of a sudden it's decentralized. So I would love to hear more.
Yeah, sure. So right now, the most popular summary of Web3, what it is a combination of three things. One is distributed web. That's one category of collection of technology and things, attributes, if you like. The other thing is a blockchain, and the third thing is semantic web. So there are three concepts here. Under the distributed web, which is the first one, so the next version of internet should be distributed and not centralized. I introduced a platform-wise, like if you're using software, Facebook, Twitter, these tools are very centralized. When the company fold or when they decided to shut down, they can actually affect a lot of people. But this doesn't just exist on the software level. On the infrastructure level, our internet provider actually controls our internet. That's why countries can censor these internets very easily, because they just have to control a few companies or infrastructure companies and do that. So what we want to do is, from ground up, Web3 needs to be a distributed web. That means all the nodes or all the computers online has to be able to work offline. So if the mainnet decided to cut some people off, they can still work. It should be faster because we don't want slower internet. We always want faster. It should be safer, so we want more privacy. So we want it to be more open, but at the same time, when we communicate online, when we do things, we want it to be safer. So more private. So it's a contradicting kind of attribute, but it makes a lot of sense later on if we expand on that. There's no need for a central point of coordination, so people trust each other naturally. And then as long as you're using the same technology, you can freely join or walk away from the system. And also there's a concept of permanent links. So when you have a URL there, why should the server go down and lose the content? You should be able to get it from somewhere else and not just rely on one spot. So this is a combination of distributed web. The best way to explain it is your power system. Right now, you're connected to a grid that provides power, and it's powered by a few generators that probably government invested in it or help some private firms to invest in it. And it goes into a complex distribution network. So you get power, but increasingly what we're seeing is people are using renewable energy, so solar panel on their rooftop, and also in some communities they have built common sort of wind turbines to support the whole village or area. What that means is they can go offline anytime they want. They can be self-sufficient. So why not internet, right? Why can't internet function without a centralized internet service provider, without a country, or without a centralized server? So that's the distributed web. The second important thing is blockchain. This is why crypto and blockchain is so related to Web3. Blockchain basically allows not the physical decentralization of the world, but the governance decentralization. So blockchain is a common ledger. So everyone keeps a copy of the ledger or part of the ledger. So I know that what's going on in the network, and I can trust the record there. So if we do it like this, then it has a few attributes. One is everything on the blockchain is publicly verifiable. So anyone can go in and verify whether that's true, and we can trust it completely. It's immutable usually. It's permissionless, so anyone can actually join the network and then start to write records on it, and then other people will trust it as long as certain things happen in the network. And blockchain usually come with incentive structure. So if you join the network, if you do certain activity, you get rewarded. If you do some bad activities, you get punished for that automatically. This is written in the code. So there's a saying in blockchain where code as law. So it means that everyone trusts each other. And where does the code live? It doesn't live in a government organization like a justice system or something like that, or legal system. It lives on the code, and everyone, as long as you join, as you conform to the standard, you sort of trust that code conditionlessly. And then the last thing is semantic web. Right now on the internet, machines don't really understand the content that they serve, right? When Google serve the search results, it to an extent trying to work out what users are trying to find and give you the relevant knowledge. But the machine itself doesn't really understand what these things are. It just knows, oh, here's a picture, and it might be related to the search query that you wanted to. It doesn't have conscience of itself. The idea of semantic web is to upgrade the internet so that all the objects, all the information on the internet has a attribute. So a location is a location. When we talk about Melbourne, which is where I live, there should only be one object on the internet that says Melbourne, and it is a location. And when people sort of interact with this information, they should know that what kind of things you can do with the location. For example, navigating to it, or finding out about information, or explore the wonder of Melbourne. So semantic web very much tries to upgrade the internet, so the internet has a graph of knowledge and allow programs to understand meanings of things. So it's much easier to find information, and more importantly, I think, is to deduplicate all this information on the internet. Because right now, like, there's a lot of duplication on the internet. If you upload a picture of yourself, people don't often know what that picture means. The systems don't know what that means, and there's a lot of copies of it. But if machines understand it, there should just be one copy of you on the internet. That might be a bad analogy, but I'll come up with a better one later. So
Yes. No, I appreciate the detailed explanation, because what it tells me is that we are literally just right at the beginning of this next stage, that we haven't even scratched the surface for what's possible. And also, I've researched trust, obviously, when I wrote my book, and what I've found out is that we have shifted who we trust. It was initially one-on-one, because it was only such a small village. We knew each other. If you screw me over, I'm not going to trust you anymore. Then we moved to cities, and then institutions like banks and government have taken control over the trust relationship between each other. And nowadays, because of technology, we are actually trusting each other, because technology makes it more transparent, and we have lost faith and trust in traditional institutions, because they have done wrong things for a long time now. And at the same time, now we need some governance. And you also talked about blockchain, but at the same time, we've also lost trust in, say, crypto and digital currencies. But we know it's only the beginning. Can you talk a little bit, what is the future of digital currencies, and how can we regain trust in it when we've lost quite a bit in crypto? I'm putting my hand up here.
So I have not invested heavily into crypto myself, but I sure have thought about it. And I too myself have thought about, I lost a lot of trust in cryptocurrency after hearing all of the stories. The way I sort of explain it is there's a duality in everything we do. A lot of people really think that the texting was very, very evil at the beginning. When I was learning English, that was a big topic, like, would texting destroy our civilization and all these things. Basically, with new technology, there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of bad things that comes out of it. So one of the things is you mentioned about the really volatility of cryptocurrency value. So one of the explanation is that the word actually is volatile, right? So when we just learned that with increased interest, countries are trying to suppress inflation, but that has a very negative effect on the economy. So a lot of people start to invest less, and the outlook is not so good. So the economy itself swings a lot, and then the regulated markets swings a lot. Crypto actually represents a very small portion of the unregulated kind of market, and with the big swing happening in the market, crypto swings even more. because there's less money, less people involved, and there's a lot of uncertainty in that. Also, like there was a few crypto projects had a lot of trouble, and the value goes to zero. People don't believe in that anymore, and maybe there was some manipulation in the market. That happens as well, but that happens kind of everywhere in the regulated world as well. To regain trust, I mean, time will tell. Market goes through cycles, just like economy goes through cycles. On the country level, the people go through cycles. Some countries will become world first economy over time, and that never lasts. So over time it declines, and another country climb up. So on the country level, it also goes through this. So it's incredibly hard for people to actually believe in that on the downturn, but it's very easy for people to believe in that on the uprise. The thing that I tell people is if you have time, if you hold on to things, then you're the winner. Because whoever has time after witnessing all the like GST crash and all that, whoever has time and capital will be able to win the market, as long as it doesn't get burned down to ashes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And but I'm interested because in obviously regulated industries there is a government body, and yes, we've been talking about blockchain, but at the same time it's still, we can't complain that we've lost or that we've been screwed over with crypto, for example. There is no one officially who regulates that. How can we go about finding out the right information? Who can we trust when it's so brand new? Any resources that you could share and how we should approach this?
So I can see this can be explained by so if a project fails, if a project goes into really bad state, there because of the decentralized nature of it, there is no central body that has control over these things, right? So if the big environment is not good or a project is set up to fail, then it will fail. Actually, no one can save that. But what people can do is the decision or efforts of saving a project, or decision of turning things around, also lies into the hands of the community. So Ethereum, for example, had the biggest crisis when they introduced DAOs in their system, so decentralized autonomous organization. It has some intrinsic flaws in their code. So the law that they have published, and you cannot change it, by the way, once it's published, has a big exploit. And one of the hacker actually exploited. This is called the DAO hack. It's quite famous in the blockchain history. And because of this, a lot of value is lost, or a lot of money just literally being transferred to the hacker, and you have no control of it. Ethereum Foundation also has no control of it, and the community has no control of it. So what they have done is, because of this flaw, they have proposed to all of the participants in the network that we're going to make a new blockchain, right? We're going to write off this hacker's activity, make their account zero, and then we're going to fix the error that we have made. But some of the community members didn't believe in that. They said, well, the code is law. If you introduce a flaw in the code, then that should also exist, even though it might mean failure of an organization or something like that. It should still go on. So therefore, the fork happened, and quote unquote the fork. And that was a big moment in blockchain history to show that this technology is unstoppable, because Ethereum has created a new, because of the fork, because people didn't agree on the future that Ethereum Foundation wanted to have. They have preserved the original blockchain, and it's still going these days. There are still miners helping with the transaction on the network. It's called Ethereum Classic, and it has certain value on it. It just keeps on going without the foundation single organization's help. And then the new one is called Ethereum. And that coin is being that kind of blockchain project is still going right now, and has just gone through another round of upgrade. So you can see that, like, yes, things can go really bad, but you can also save it as a community. The problem in the decentralized world is the decentralization will solve problems, but it will introduce problems as well. To solve it is not as easy. You also need to use the decentralized way to solve these problems, which becomes very, very hard. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that opens up a completely different can of worms now, in terms of skill sets, in terms of industries, because all of a sudden somebody needs to regulate that. We need to learn how to actually do it. We need to integrate it in our marketing, and nobody I've seen that coming, how quickly it's changing, and it continues to change even quicker. And with digital currencies, I mean, they're not going anywhere. We live already in a digital first world. And as we just said, it's literally just at the beginning. Where do you see the future of digital currencies overall going?
So I think like the role of a fiat currency and the trust people have in the governments, it's never going to go away. I think as long as countries exist, unless we unite to a whole kind of a sovereignty around of all Earth, the role of the government still plays a very important role in fiat currency. I mean, one of the examples I'll use the government, the argument that people use when Facebook was trying to have their own cryptocurrency. One of the argument was that the cryptocurrency that Facebook make, everyone has to know how to use computer to be able to use it. It is true, it's digital currency. There are ways to make it so it doesn't rely on the computers to do transactions, but mainly it was born digital. So you need to have some kind of technical literacy in there. Whereas the notes that the countries issue, you don't have to know. You just have to know maths like 1 and 2 and 3, 4, maybe all the way to 10 or 100. Then there you go. You can use currency and live that way. But digital currency is not that. There's a huge barrier of entry in terms of knowledge and literacy. So I don't think that is going away anytime soon. And also the sort of digital currency is borderless, born borderless, because it is decentralized nature of technologies. So it's very hard to regulate. It doesn't mean it can't be regulated, but it's very hard to regulate. And government are trying to in the speed of light trying to regulate it right now as we speak, because government are not intrinsically very slow. It wants stability, but because of the decentralized technology of crypto and blockchain, it has created a lot of ripple very quickly. So they need to kind of adapt in that, and the sooner it regulates it, the better it is to avoid suffering of people who are exploited by this technology.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you mentioned
that
a
is
few
not going
times.
Away anytime soon.
Very true. And you mentioned a few times the buzzword, the holy grail, communities. Like everyone wants to build a community, everyone wants to build a community around the business. NFTs are a big thing, it's a community. And then at the same time, we can also introduce coins like the Gary coin or the Petra coin if we want to, and have access to certain products, information, people, whatever it might be. What is the future of building those communities in the digital first world?
Right. So I'll talk a little bit about traditional companies, product companies, and then recently I was involved in helping a company to transform from product company to a platform company, which is what we used to now, the Facebook and Apple Word type of companies, actually. So for a product company, usually you have to make a product or a service that a lot of people like. So you need to make a lot of assumptions, or you can do market research to find out what things are. And then you gather a group of people, hire a lot of people to make that happen. And then you sell it, right? After you have done a successful product or service, you attract a lot of people using it. Once it achieves a certain critical mass, the demand of different new things overwhelms the company, and there's an urge to turn the company into a platform, right? This is how kind of Amazon evolves. First of all, it was just selling books online. And then later on, they find out that a lot of companies actually need to solve the logistic problems. So that became a service so other people can leverage on that. And then IT was one of the most important sort of required functionality by a lot of other companies. So AWS was created. So they gradually modularized their product and made it so anyone can use it. So that in essence, they become a platform, and then they provide those services to other companies who wants to make money off it. And so it's kind of a platform for other business to make money. And then all of a sudden you have a sort of concept of ecosystems, not just one company, but you need to get more people to join, more companies to join, and form a kind of a community behind it, right? So platform companies naturally understands that, all right, I have a big user community, and then I need to have a partner community. I need to have different kinds of supplier community, all these things. And then you now realize, okay, it's not just the sales figure that make us a great company, but also the community sort of makes us a good company. So a lot of platform companies are trying to evaluate how do we put a dollar value accounting wise on the community that we have, so it becomes an asset for those platform companies, right? So people are evolving that. And then in Web3, what astonished me was that people are going out asking for investment or followers just with the concept, right? You have a white paper, you have some really good concept in Web3 or in blockchain, and then you start to evangelize about it, and you start to tell people about it, and start to get followers on that. So Web3 sort of turned the game around. Instead of building the product first, sell it, make it successful, and then build a platform and then attract community on it, which will spend a lot of resources and time to do it. It turns it around and say, hey, I've got this great idea. Just imagine what it looks like. And it starts to build the community first. So it's a kind of a natively community first approach, because the bigger the community it is, the bigger asset is, because the community will support you. And the community are your source of funding. Community will be your partners, will be your employees, will be your companies that you collaborate with in the ecosystem in the future. And it has turned this around. So it almost doesn't matter who builds the product by the end of the day. You just have the standard ready, and then you can ask any member in the community to build it, and the more the merrier kind of is. The different versions you have or different companies that you have in the community will help you to survive some kind of a catastrophic hit to the network, to the business that you're trying to do. So I think like people need to turn this around. It was already hard enough for product people to understand why platforms, why Amazon decided to open up their product to all the other companies. People need to go another kind of a leap in their mind to know that, oh, the community, the random followers on the internet, they are actually the future of the business. Before you start your business, have your followers first, have your communities, have a vibrant ecosystem going on right there before you build a product. So that is a trend I'm seeing. Yeah, that is what kind of Web3, how a lot of Web3 projects, like you mentioned, NFT projects or crypto projects started, because they're community first approach.
And it's fascinating that you say that companies are looking as an evaluation of a community. Like we can put a dollar sign towards how much people are buying into the concept, the products, the brand in the end, because brands have the power to pivot. Like we are evolving, and this is also what Amazon has done so well. It started with the one thing, the one offer, and all of a sudden it has become everything. But didn't start there. It didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually when they have proved the concept and they have seen what else do our consumers actually want. Now, you, by the time of this recording, you literally just got back from Singapore, and there were thousands and thousands of people and communities obviously there. What kind of trends have you been discussing? What kinds of opportunities are people to look into investing, being part of, or building? Can you give us some of your learnings from your conference?
Sure. So I went there for Filecoin's Singapore Summit. It was a 2 days event on last Monday and Tuesday. We hired a venue to hold about 1,000 people, and about more than, I think, 1,200 people actually turned up. About 3,000 people registered. So it was a very successful event. We had lots of high-profile speakers on our event, and the networking area with food and drinks and exhibition stands are very popular. So a lot of people went there and get connected. So within the same building, there were actually several different crypto company or blockchain projects events going on. And the kind of a permissionless and community first spirit is everywhere. So they typically do not check like tickets very thoroughly. And as long as you know that you're in Web3, you can kind of enter. There is registration process, but most of them are free. So you can register on the spot and then go in and learn about all those projects. So it was great. And then the main event was later on the Token 2049 event, which was a flagship event for blockchain projects in Asia. That had about, I think it was, I overheard some figures from the organizer. I think it was about 30,000 people there. Lots of stands. I think we had about 20 stands on our side from different ecosystem partners or collaborators. And then they had a lot more. I didn't count, but there were, I think, about 100 of them. So different companies sort of showcase their product services and all these things. It was great to network with all these people. I saw people flew from all the way from US for it. People flew from Middle East. The Web3 topic sort of unites different kinds of people into one place and meet each other. The most important thing I've learned is there are a lot of investors in Singapore and a lot of investors who have done very well in the Web2 world, like technology world, or in traditional industries like oil, energy, all these things. They're looking to diversify their investment. And apart from all the cutting edge technology that everyone's investing in, Web3 is one of the sort of heavily invested topic right now, because what topic could be more important than upgrading the existing internet? And everyone wants to buy kind of a share in this whole venture. So the analogy I use is it was very hard for IBM to sell the personal computing before, because no one believes in the dream. And right now, all of the blockchain project is trying to sell Web3, this future, which very few people understands, and a lot of people don't believe in either. So it's going through the same struggle. But I'm glad to see so many investors and firms are realizing that and coming to events like that.
Absolutely. I think the hardest part is that it's so abstract, like it's nothing that we can physically touch or use, and it's so new that it's mind-blowing. But at the same time, just closing the eyes and thinking it's not going to happen, that's also not correct, because it will happen and it's already happening. Now, to wrap things up, I have a big question. In fact, there are 3 questions for each business and an individual. What are one of the opportunities that we can tap into as a business and as an individual in terms of skill set? What do you think is important for us to either hire, to build, or to acquire? And also, what is a resource that we can tap into to get our head a little bit more around it? So that's a big question to finish us off. So business and individual.
Yeah, sure. So for individual, I really recommend reading some books about how some of the projects got started. So one of my favorite books is called The Infinite Machine. I forgot the author's name, but it basically talked about how Ethereum started. And there's another book called King of Crypto, which talked about the rise of Coinbase, which is one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world. I really love about those books because they're written by reporters, and reporters often tell both sides of the stories, not just good things about these companies, but also things that are not so glamorous. So you can think about it. And then most of the I want to tell all the individuals out there, people out there listening to this, is that most of the projects are open by default. So you can learn about their core technology. For example, Filecoin, all of the specification is public. All of the code, like of the product that we run, like software that runs on all the storage providers, or some people call them miners, that software is open source. So anyone can learn, copy it, and do something about it, change it, make a better one. So it's kind of permissionless technology-wise as well. Most of the projects are open source too. So you can take a look and then just look for those information. You can find their white paper. You can join their community. It's often open, permissionless. You don't have to pay anything to join, and you can start to follow those. For businesses, I think you need to watch out for the next wave of revolution in the business, because when we talk about like product traditional. So first of all, like technology company change the way how business gets done quite a bit, right? And then secondly, the platform business sort of introduced a new concept. A lot of people are still struggling with platform to product to platform transformation and digitization of the business itself. Like having a website presence was already hard enough for a lot of businesses. But you need to prepare yourself. You can't afford to not learn about Web3 because that is a completely different way of organizing resources to achieve an outcome that you want. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to put profit first. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to rush to get certain things done and make releases for your investors. Web3 really provides a very different way of running it. It's very hard to put it in one word, but you need to at least take a look at that and having your business plan. So imagine if you want to turn your company into a blockchain project. What would you do? How would you do about it? And start to ask your question on that. And instead of having a board or a group of investors, how about creating a DAO and have the DAO have total control of your business and sort of give it back to your communities. Imagine you're trying to split your company into infinite amount of shares and give it to your users right now. Maybe you have thousands or tens of thousands of users. Try to think about that, how you can coordinate that. Blockchain, Web3 technology really gives you a really effective technology to do these things with the high security standards there. So that's those are the 2 cents I can give to all the individuals trying to learn about this and the businesses.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for shedding so much light to this very shady topic. It has helped me so much to just simplifying the concept, understanding what the future actually looks like. And I'll definitely look at those books because I agree, you need to understand where the whole concept comes from to understand where it will go and just dissect the big concept into the smaller chunks. So excellent recommendation. I also know that you are an advocate and you are consulting with and for companies what they can actually do. What's the best way to connect with you, learn from you, and stay in touch with what you guys are up to?
Sure. People can search me online, Jenks Guo. That's JENKSGUO. It's a weird name for Chinese, so I have the best search engine optimization right now on Google. So you'll be able to find me if you just Google it. Otherwise, use my link tree. That's linktr.ee/Jenks Guo. So that's got all of the content that I've written, all of the talks I have done, and also all of the different chatting softwares that I use. You can DM me or feel free to book a meeting with me if you like to reach out to me.
Excellent. And to be honest, you're one of the very, very, very few who are so technical, but you also translate it to us non-technical people. And this is absolutely the perfect concept of the trusted authority that you explain to us in layman's terms what it means to us whilst you're bringing the technical expertise in. So thank you so much for being a front runner on so many in so many ways. And I'm really looking forward to what's next for you guys.
And thank you, Petra. I've been a big fan of your work. Been following you. Thank you for doing all the good work for the businesses out there. I'm still
Thank you
using
so
your
much.
LinkedIn tips right now.
Yay! That means the world. Thank you so much.